Ladies and gentlemen, this is TVP World. You're watching another edition of Military Mind, bringing you news from the front lines. I'm your host, Benjamin Lee. Russian forces continued their attacks on Ukrainian cities despite recent talks about a ceasefire. Moscow's troops launched more than 120 strike drones at targets across Ukraine overnight into Friday. Russian strikes hit energy and port infrastructure and caused power supply disruption in the Odessa region. The attack also damaged empty fuel tanks and port equipment in the same area. In the city of Dnipro, Russian attacks killed 2 people, wounded 3 others, and destroyed civilian infrastructure. Meanwhile, Russian and Ukrainian authorities announced an Easter ceasefire. Vladimir Putin said fighting would stop from 4 p.m. on April 11th until the end of April 12th. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy had earlier proposed a ceasefire for Easter. Russian authorities previously declared a similar unilateral ceasefire during Easter in 2025, after which both sides accused each other of violations. In addition, in Russia, Ukrainian drones struck infrastructure and targeted the border regions. Drone debris killed 1 man during an attack in the Volgograd region, according to local authorities. Ukrainian monitoring sources reported that the strike likely targeted a major oil pipeline. The pipeline includes a key pumping station that transports diesel fuel from a refinery towards a Black Sea port in the same region. Ukrainian forces also carried out strikes on border settlements and wounded a woman in attacks in the Bryansk region. On the battlefield, Russian units are conducting infiltration attempts using small mobile assault groups and motorcycles and are trying to push deeper into Huliopole. Moscow's forces are attempting to restore a higher pace of offensive operations after earlier losses and are focusing on gradually advancing through small, repeated attacks rather than large-scale assaults. Ukrainian forces are holding defensive positions and forcing Russian units to operate in small groups under constant pressure from drones and artillery. Fighting is taking place in a narrow and highly contested zone where both sides are positioned very close to each other, often within a few kilometers. Russian assault groups have managed to move forward in some areas and establish temporary positions, but they do remain exposed to counterattacks from Ukrainian forces on the flanks. Ukrainian units are actively targeting these advancing groups and attempting to isolate and destroy them before they can consolidate their positions. Analysts describe the battlefield as fragmented, with small units from both sides operating in overlapping areas where encirclement or semi-encirclement situations are quite frequent. Despite continued pressure, Russian forces have not achieved a stable breakthrough, while Ukrainian forces continue to slow their advance and maintain control over key positions. On the front lines, Ukrainian soldiers face a constant threat from Russian drones. Recently, an FPV drone operated by Moscow's forces attempted to strike a vehicle carrying Ukrainian defenders. Thanks to the crew's quick reaction and skill, they took cover behind a pickup truck that Russian forces had destroyed earlier. The moment highlights the reality of modern combat. See, even at a distance of just a few meters away, the right decision and knowledge of the terrain can save lives.
Что ты стреляешь? Тихо, тихо, сука, уйди вон! Что молчишь? Давай, выскакивай. Стой. Оце нас нахватило. Мужичок, ти говори. Шла, блядь. Там міна, Манюня, там міна, де ти стоїш. Чорна міна, блядь, не лазьте там. Короче, пацану спалили. Воно ж дун, головою пройшла, прикинь.
Я почав хуярить по неставку.
Ми заховалися за цією спаленою машиною, вона не поняла, що це ціло. А тут диви, що робиться. Короче, пакуємося, вискакуємо, пробуємо. Давай, зарядіться.
Давай.
Це виход, пацани. Це викатка. А може реп, поняв, може реп придушив її.
In the Pokrovsk sector, Ukrainian soldiers from the Omega unit traveling in a no better armored vehicle came under attack from Russian FPV suicide drones. The drones attempted to strike the vehicle while it was moving, but the crew acted in unison. They used evasive maneuvers and nearby cover to reduce the risk. Again, the incident shows the constant threat posed by small drones on the front lines and the need for high readiness among personnel, even while moving in armored vehicles.
Чи проїхати так, щоб ти дорогу добре заповнив? Ще раз проїдеш.
Газ, 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 газ. їдь.
Та я бачу, дороги на. Право нема. Десь летить. Що?
FPV позаді. Лети. А? FPV ззаді, лети.
Батька, завертаю зараз різко.
Давай. А? Відстає?
Батька, зараз під'їжджає, в'ю тачки швидко.
Пацаки, ви стали.
Вже!
Давай.
Зараз! Да, всі швидко. Чекай! Назад! Грузимся! Розгружаємося!
In the Donetsk and Luhansk regions, Ukrainian FP-2 suicide UAVs carried out precision strikes on key Russian military and infrastructure targets. Near the village of Kalchinivka in the Donetsk region and the city of Perevalsk in the Luhansk region, a Tor M1 air defense missile system was destroyed. A logistic hub was also hit, along with several communications facilities, including telecom towers and network nodes. All of the strikes were captured on video. And with that footage, we conclude this edition of Military Mind. But for more news, update, and commentary, please stay tuned to TVP World.